So let's talk about DMS, which stands for dual mode summing. This applies to interfacer, underfacer, and output. We're actually going to talk to you about the truth, the real truth about summing, the pros and cons, and why it means that we here at Goodwood Audio have two versions. We have stereo sum and split sum. Okay, so let's talk about stereo sum and how that sounds. So with the interfacer, the LED would be red. With the underfacer, it's the same. And with output, the white push button is out. So true stereo is where the information coming from your last pedal on the right side is going to the right amp, and from the left side is going to the left amp, and it sounds like this. As you can hear, it's ping-ponging backwards and forwards between both amps. Hold down the foot switch on interfacer with RMT connected to underfacer, or push in the white push button on output. For the interfacer and underfacer, the LED turns blue. For output, it doesn't have a colored LED. I'm really sorry about that. This is now summed. What this does is it takes the information from right and left, it combines it inside the pedal, and then it takes that combined signal and splits it to the right and the left output. So it doesn't matter which of your amps dies. If your right amp dies, your left amp is getting all the information, and vice versa. And it sounds like this. So there you could hear the last pedal's outputs. The left and right information was summed together, and then it was sent to the amp that was still working. Now, this works great with lots of stereo delays and stereo reverbs, but what if you use a lot of stereo modulation like chorus or tremolo? Or what if you have a mono pedal board only, but you want to run it to 2 amps? Excellent question, and that's why we have split sum. All right, so the reason we have split sum is because the real truth about stereo sum, well, that's summing a stereo signal down to one line, is that there are certainly some pros to it, but there's also a downside, particularly for people using stereo modulation. So as we discussed, the pros are that you can retain your stereo ping pong delays into your stereo reverbs even when you only have 1 amp. But if you're someone that uses heavy stereo modulation, talking about phaser, flanger, chorus, and tremolo, the laws of physics can't be defied, and when you take that stereo signal and you sum it together, depending on the pedal type, you could very well run into phase cancellation, and in some instances, you might even lose the effect completely. Grant's going to show us what happens when you sum a true stereo tremolo down to 1 line. So you could hear there that he started out, it was going backwards and forwards between both amps, and when he summed it together, it disappeared completely. The good news is there's a fix, and that fix is split sum. The only difference between these two modes is when you engage summing. Now, what is the difference? Well, rather than combining left and right together and potentially encountering phase issues, phase cancellation, all of that sort of thing, what summing does in split sum mode is it disregards the right completely, and it takes the left and splits it to left and right. So what Grant's going to do is he's going to show us now the difference going from true stereo to dual mono, but in the split sum mode. So there you could hear a true stereo tremolo going backwards and forwards, just like in stereo sum mode. When Grant summed to mono, the difference was it disregarded the right, and it took the left and sent it in dual mono to both the right and the left. So your true stereo tremolo is no longer stereo, but you still get the effect.